Hey everybody, Jason Sherman here. In today's episode of Zero to CEO, I sit down with successful sales executive Greg Murphy. Welcome to the show.
Jason, great to be here.
Yeah, man, and we're going to talk about scaling strategic sales teams. So that's a good topic. I mean, a lot of people out there running a business are trying to get more sales. I mean, that's, you can build whatever you build, but you got to sell it, right? So let's talk about why strategic sales are different than regular sales, because that's kind of like the whole point of the topic here.
No, it definitely is. And well, first of all, again, thanks for having me on the show here. When we think about strategic sales, we think about maybe a complicated sales process. So maybe you might have a product that has a lot of variables with it. And so in order to successfully train a group of people to communicate what needs to be delivered, you have to have a good process to do that. And so when I say strategic sales, that's what I mean. It's got to be a process that just about anybody can follow. And so ways that we've developed that is we've always focused on what's called the middle class of sales reps. And a lot of folks, I'm going to talk about the top, you got your top performers that just no matter what, they walk with a swagger. They're just really confident. They're excellent at their craft. And those folks, they probably don't follow processes. They follow their own and they maybe learn, but they're good enough to where they don't really need a process. And then you have the lower performers, right? Maybe that top 5, 10%, whatever. And they're just struggling. But we're going to talk about the middle class. That's that large tax base. What we found is by developing clear, concise sales process for that middle class, if we can go ahead and leverage out 1 to 2 more sales a month with those folks, you're talking about making a massive impact to the business bottom line. And
makes sense.
Really.
Yeah, and you talk about a process, and I'm assuming part of that is having a script, especially with sales, because when you're selling anything, you're telling a story. You're trying to get people to see your vision and kind of understand your philosophy. So how do you do that?
It's and most people tend to cringe when they hear the word script. And
but you got to practice something. I mean,
brother, you do.
You got to, in my startup with my team, I'm always kind of giving them the same answers to the questions I get from like journalists or, from investors. You got to give that same answer, because if you practice it over and over and over again, and you can do variations, right? You can do variations, but there has to be some sort of guardrails in place. If not, you're crashing the car into the ravine, right? You got to kind of have a guideline.
You're dead on. We see a process is helping people make decisions, right? We don't really see it that we're in sales. We're in the decision making business, and customer invited us to their business or to their home for whatever reason, and we're there to help them solve a specific problem. And so what we've found is that by walking a customer through a specific arc of decision making through that, they're involved in the decision process of helping them make choices. So by the end, they feel seen, heard, and understood. Well, what I mean by that is a good sales process. Then I'll talk about a bad sales process, a comparison, but a good sales process really.
I'd like to hear both. Yeah, I mean, we got to help people avoid this, right?
Dude, it's probably one of my passions. How do we help sales suck less, right?
Yeah.
It's from that standpoint. So being in the decision-making business, we like to help people make choices. And what we found is, let's say you've got a complicated product. Maybe you have a super high efficiency product or a standard efficiency product, let's say, right? Helping people get choices. So homeowner, we have a high efficiency product here, and it'll cost a little bit more, but here's the value of it, and a standard efficiency here. Out of those two, which one would make the most sense for you?
Yeah, that makes sense. Why should you choose this product over that product? What are the benefits? And I guess this is, when I'm looking at it from an entrepreneurship perspective, right? Because a lot of people listening to this are entrepreneurs. There's always the problem and the solution, right? So can you use that in sales conversations? If so, what's the format for that?
I love it. It really does. That problem solution and this is something that I heard on a TED Talk a while ago. It wasn't mine, but I realized that this person helped define the sales process that we created. And it
Interesting.
really is, like you're saying, it's a problem solution, problem, how we're going to solve it together. And
Hmm.
you might think of it like a Martin Luther King speech gave that. And if you could find a way to take
Hmm.
people through or even the Steve Jobs, the first iPhone, the
Yeah.
Gettysburg, these are speeches that changed the future of humanity
Everything.
forever.
Yeah.
Well, what caused them to do that is it brought people through these valleys and highs, right? And so, for instance, I'd say, uh, focusing on Martin Luther King, for far too long, because of the color of my skin, we have not had the choices that other people have had, but I have a dream.
Right.
For far too long, we've been told because of this, we can't vote, but I have a dream. And he just walked you through this emotional arc where you like the end of it, you're going, yeah, let's change the world. And he did. And so sales are like that as well. So here's our problem. Let's state the problem clearly. For instance, if you're selling an energy efficiency product, typically because they're paying a lot of money on electric bills or something,
Yeah.
man, look at that. You'll end up paying the utility this much. That's why so many people go with our company and choose this product as a result. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
walking them through that.
That does make a lot of sense. And I mean, you might have customers who object, or have concerns to whatever it is you're selling, but they might still be a customer. So there's always that fine line, right? How do you sway them in your direction? Because that's something that a lot of people don't know how to do. There's those, e-commerce systems that they snag you at the last minute before you leave the page and say, "Oh, before you leave, we see you have 2 items in the cart. How about 30% off in order to and you snag them in." But is there a way to sway people into your direction a little bit easier?
Yeah, I love that. It's a part of and really it's is we're focusing on our book really draws a lot of that out, right? Sales sucks. And why it sucks is that most people are have been manipulated by salespeople in the past. We've all been there. And it irritates the crap out of us, right? We all hate it.
That's terrible.
You're like, don't do that.
It's
Just
so true.
as opposed to what we call selling with aloha. Selling, like, how do you treat people with respect? And
Yeah.
they're so diabolically opposed. There's even this term that sales managers have created, right? They're what they call terms are buyers or liars. What a horrible way to hold a customer, right? A potential buyer. They're saying they're liars. So, well, they're lying because all of our past worn out sales practices have abused people to where they're actually on a defensive structure the whole way. So the only way I know how to get them to come along with me for the journey is to treat them with respect, sell with a
Yeah.
low, not asking.
Kill them with kindness, right? That's kind of like an age old adage, is to just be nice to people. And you have to have a team that understands that, because I've worked with people in my businesses over the years where they just weren't very nice people, and I was a very positive person, but they were very negative. They were always kind of harping on like the negativity aspect, and I was always trying to keep things positive. So how do you train the right people to have that same mindset? Because you can't really, you're talking about salespeople manipulating customers, but then you have yourself having to manipulate almost and kind of fine tune your people. How do you do that respectively, like without any issues?
Yeah, it's, gosh, I say hire quickly, fire faster.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that, if people are not coachable, I look for this in managers, vice presidents to sales reps. If they're coachable, humble, and have a competitive edge, the balance
Mm,
there is crazy, right? Because you're not going to be if you're not humble, you're not going to be coachable, right? But you have to have a little bit of that competitive edge. You as an individual want to be better, do better. Maybe you want to put a down payment on a home or create a rental income for your family. Like, those are great goals to have for a person there. Uh,
absolutely.
But if you have those traits, that person usually is going to treat the other people with respect, as long as the sales process is
Right. Back to the
designed
process.
with respect, right? It kind of, they kind of
They
feed
go
it.
together. Everything goes together at the end of the day. I mean, and most of this is going to be with preparation, right? You have to, and I tell people this all the time. If you're not prepared and you don't know your industry and you not haven't researched it enough and you haven't practiced the script and kind of gone through the process, you're not going to do well in any industry. So, how do you personally tell people that they should stay prepared? For example, to maybe embrace the changes that happen in the sales industry, because you can't just be prepared for what you're good at. You have to be prepared what might come down the pipeline, right?
100%. And again, I always think back to the middle class. I think about that sales rep that had a really bad night, right?
Mm,
Maybe things didn't go well at home. They're in a tough space, or maybe they went out and enjoyed one too many beers or whatever it is the night before, and they show up to somebody's house and they're not on their A game
right.
mentally and or emotionally. So what we found is a process that is visually oriented. And what I mean by that, that they can literally open, either if it's a software program, and they can look at that and they know exactly, okay, here's the decision points on this slide. That's what I need to.
Mm,
Here's what I talk about here. Here's that decision I need to make them make. And they sound competent and confident even when they're not feeling confident and competent. Top performing reps, they don't know how not to feel that way. You know what I'm talking
right.
about? And everybody tries to create sales process around those people, and they put them in the front of the stage, say that's who you want to be like. And that middle class reps going, I can never be that.
Yeah.
That's where I found, if you're a manager and you have a team, put up your middle class person that's actually followed your processes and they've done really well. Put them in front and have them share from a humble standpoint of what got them there.
You
Always
know,
point back to the process works.
I mean, it's the only way to do it. And I liked what you said about having like a tool or software to kind of visualize things. Are there any custom tools that you've created for sales teams or that they've used in the past that have worked for them that maybe someone else can use today?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And it really, I think it depends about the size of the team, right? If you're a small team, there's some off-the-shelf products that you can do, but you will have to enhance it with, maybe that you can't make the software do what you want to do. So you might have to have a pamphlet or something that helps tell the story or whatever. But once you start to scale your business, there are some, gosh, we're on our third one now. We're developing it's like it's a consistent thing of like a good software designer that gets sales DNA is so critical. So if you're going to go develop one yourself, and our book actually walks through this process, that very thing about how to create a good sales enablement tool to make sure, because a lot of software guys will make this thing spin and do this cool stuff and push a video. And I'm going, well, the software is doing all the selling. Why is the sales rep even there?
Yes, true. It's supposed to be like an aid, not a kind of a takeover.
100%.
So,
100%.
so
Yeah.
if someone's trying to scale their sales team, you mentioned a small team versus like a big team. How do you scale the sales team to be a bigger size? Because that's hard too.
It is hard. We last company I was with, we had at the time about 300 sales reps, right around 375 million. And then
Wow.
in a year and a half, we went to 1,000 reps to $1 billion
Whoa,
run rate.
that's
So
crazy.
we scaled drastically.
What's
And
like the top tip to do that? Like, what's the main piece of that puzzle?
process, process,
That sounds
process.
familiar. That sounds familiar. And we're gonna leave it out here where you're gonna tell us what Sales Sucks is, so that people can pick it up. Tell us about it. What is it? Where can they find it?
Yeah, so sales sucks. You can find that on our website at salespattern.io/sales sucks. And it will also be available soon on Amazon and all those things. Should be here in the next couple months or so there. But that's where we really lay out how we scaled the teams, how we
Okay.
did that, and the things not to do, because it's not always a smooth ride, right? And what I feel like some of the best things we walk through though with is really focusing on that middle class
Hmm.
and giving them the tools to succeed. And by giving them the tools, even those people started to become the good sales reps, started to become good, effective managers, right? And a lot of people want to put the top performers to be managers. That's usually the worst decision you can make because they're not good leaders of people. They just know how to make stuff happen. Let them go, man. And
I love it.
but we just found a lot of really good people when they've learned to follow the process could help replicate that and make other people feel comfortable of how to sell and to perform really well.
Amazing. Pick it up, guys. Salespattern.io/sales sucks. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and we'll talk to you guys in the next one.